Good morning. This is the Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You get more information and listen to previous shows at our website, which is blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my web studio, my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And to that end, it's my pleasure to introduce my guest this morning, and he is Clay Rice, Triad Project Management with Triad Project Management. And Clay, you can wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this. So if you're watching this, give a big wave. You can say hello to them. Big wave.
Hi.
That's Clay Rice. And Clay, for the benefit of folks who don't know much about Triad Project Management, which is yours truly, what is the company all about?
We're about corporate sustainability. What we do is we help manage office furniture projects from your small, medium to Fortune 500 companies. So when a corporation moves, either you have one of two choices. So you either take all your furniture with you and reset it up in your new location, or it's kind of like buying a brand new house. You want to bring used furniture, so they potentially buy all new. And then it's our job to keep all the furniture. What we do is remove everything from site, all the furniture, like let's say cubicles, chairs, training room, conference rooms, private offices, break rooms, even fridges. If the landlord needs it gone, we take care of it. And we patch and sand, holes in the wall. Or like if you have whiteboards or company logos, so we'll take that down, patch and sand. We don't really do any contractor work, but we leave the space in a broom swept condition. So when there's tenant improvements or the landlord's going to release it, if the keys are ready to go back to them.
Now, before we talk then more about what Triad Project Management does, let me ask you this question. You told me off the air, in terms of graduating college, you grew up where as a kid?
Mars Hill, North Carolina.
Okay. And so when you were growing up in Mars Hill, did you always know you wanted to be in project management? Was that your goal as a little kid?
I had no clue. I never knew my industry existed until about 16 years ago.
Yeah. So as a kid, what do you want to become?
I really didn't know. I was just kind of riding with the wave and saw what happened. And then when I graduated college, got a degree in business, and a double minor in marketing and management. And that was in 1997. And I tried, Asheville at that time was a small market. So I tried to do different jobs. I, got licensed in life and health, but my hair color, and I looked really young for my age, and my hair color wasn't gray or salt and pepper. So people didn't think I knew what I was talking about when it came to life insurance and annuities and IRAs. And so that was a little hard for me to get into that market. And then from there, I got into restaurants. So I ended up learning, how to cook, how to serve, how to bartend. I became a manager in different places. I've worked at the Grove Park Inn. And one of my customers came in and he's like, "Hey, Clay, you're great. You would do great sales." And it's like, well, he goes, "I want you to come and work for me." And at that time, I couldn't really do commission only. And so it was a tragedy in a way because his sister was running a project in South Florida and she ended up passing due to a double brain aneurysm. And her brother, which is the one that got me into this industry, is like, "Clay, I need your help." So I spoke it over with my wife and I left Asheville at the time and went down to South Florida. And I stayed from the end of February to the end of May. And we did a huge liquidation from a gentleman who rubber stamped a lot of mortgages about 15 years ago. And he got real big trouble. And we ended up liquidating 8 floors in one building, 2 floors in another building. Each floor was 40 to 50,000 square feet. So I had no clue what I was doing when I went there. And so I learned, basically threw me to the wolves and I learned. So I learned what a desk was. I learned what a BBF was, or a workstation, cubicle, power. I even went on installations to learn how they go together and then how you can reconfigure them. And so I learned as I went and I was really good at it. Kind of like people ask me, "How do you know you were good at it?" Well, I feel like I went to it like a duck does water. And so if I would have known about this industry in 97, I would have done it.
But what got you then to Asheville? You said you've been with this company 3 years. I think you told me off the air. What got you
Yes,
to
sir.
this company?
Well, when we were living in South Florida, and we were there for 15 years, have three wonderful children, and both of my parents still live in Morrisville, and they've got dementia. So we decided to move back and, take care of the family. And when I was moving, the owner, Ryan Cavanaugh, hit me up out of the blue. Hey, look, I heard you're leaving CRG. Where are you going and what's going on? And I told him, and he offered me a position because Triad is kind of a fairly new company. I think we've only been in business like 3 years, 4 years at the most, and we have grown it. And so it kind of worked out perfectly. So when I moved back to Asheville, just fell into doing what I was doing because I know a lot of people and trusted people, trusted companies across the country that if I have something in any major market, I know people that I go to. So I trust them. I worked with them before, and they always do a wonderful job for me and my customers.
So the cool thing about what you do, so you're headquartered in Asheville, but you service anywhere, I guess?
Yes, sir. So Triad is actually based in Atlanta,
Okay.
and that's where our corporate office is in Atlanta. I work remotely, and then I also, I'm building up the North Carolina and South Carolina markets. I've been doing a lot of projects, and some of my large customers are commercial moving companies like Sutter, also Beltman. So I'm doing a huge project for Beltman right now. They're, my contact is in South Florida, but we're doing 8 different projects for ADT Solar. We're decommissioning them, and they're from 2 different locations in Ohio, Chicago, Florida, Virginia, Atlanta. So they're all around, and I feel blessed because the people, I don't just pick up the phone and call somebody who does our job and say, "Hey, can you go do this job for me?" We actually, between me and my partners at Triad, we have a very trusted line of people we use to help us help our customers.
And talk, if you would, Clay, then actually what happens. So if somebody's watching the show or be interested in your services or Triad services, what are the services actually you do? And then take me from kind of the beginning of the call to what happens.
Okay. So if somebody, hey Clay, I've got, a liquidation. I was like, okay, do you have a floor plan of your space? Or do you have any pictures? Now this is before we even set up a walkthrough, depending on how big the space is. And so, for example, we would set up an appointment once I see a few pictures, and then I would walk through, look at it. I inventory every chair, every break room table, every office with sizes, workstations, and whiteboards. I inventory everything. And then we give them a labor cost to get everything out of the building. We do give a disposal cost. And then I always call it the worst case scenario. So out of anything, once I give you this cost, that's going to be it. And then that's just if we have to scrap, recycle, and dispose of office furniture. But timing is so important, Blaine, because if you have a month or 2 months before you have to be out of the space, that gives me time to take my pictures, gather my inventory, and I blast it to a network of hundreds and hundreds of national office brokers and dealers across the country. And if they like it, then we'll make a deal. We'll sell it. My guys will load the truck, make sure it gets there safely, and then it keeps a lot of items out of the dump. Now, if we can't sell everything, then we go to nonprofits, charities, schools, and we donate. So that way, when I was in Miami, I donated a lot of furniture to the Miami-Dade school system. People think, oh, Miami, it's a beautiful city. Everybody's rich. School systems are great. That's not the case because in the public schools, their furniture was trash, and you can't be meeting with a, student parent meeting with a table that looks all beat up. So we would give them, and outfit most of their administrative buildings because they can't, especially teachers, they can't afford new desks or chairs. And so we would donate that to them.
What
And
was
then the last,
I'm sorry,
sorry,
what's kind of cool about it, I'm listening to it. It sounds like it's a win-win situation though, so you're helping the company and then you're
right?
helping the school.
Correct. So, and we do a lot with different organizations all across the country that help homelessness, vets, we're very lucky in how we're dialed in to a lot of charities. I do a lot of work for other companies, and I actually find donation spots for them too, to help them out with the labor. And then if we have to dispose of it, we have to. Some items you just, even if they're older and used, some items are just antiquated. They're even if you try to give them away for free, even charities and nonprofits are like, no, that's too scratched up. I don't want it, because they got to have a look, special look too.
Even for the company though, who's working with you, so they're getting rid of the stuff, but also even then they get a tax write-off, I guess, of some sort, right? If they're donating stuff.
If they donate, yes, sir, to a 503c, they do get, if we donate anything, the company will get the tax receipt for that for their company.
So now,
Because usually with a corporation, their furniture, most of the time a commercial lease is like 7 to 10 years. And then if they buy all brand new office furniture, they can only write it off for, I think, 6 to 7 years.
right.
And then after that, then it's better for some companies to throw it all away because that's a tax write-off as well. So they're getting that one last tax write-off, but it just kills our environment. So we try to spread the wealth to because a lot of even larger companies are buying used furniture because instead of spending, let's say for an example, on a brand new workstation, say steel case,
Sure.
it could be $3,000 plus you got to get it installed, which is another couple $100. But if you can find the same station that's 3 years old, and you spend $500 to $600 a station plus install, you're still under $1,000 for a brand new station almost.
Do you help on that also? Do you help them find stuff as well as?
Oh, yes, sir. Yep. If once we have a floor plan and I know exactly what will fit by aisleways and ADA codes, then if you don't have a CAD file, then if we have the correct measurements, I can design it in for you and maximize your space. So what size do you want? What height of panels? Desk, offices, and I'll go in and design it all. Once they approve the design, I can start sending options from all over the country. I'm working with a company now. I've done a few projects with them, and then they're doing a project in Raleigh where we have to knock down and get rid of 50 stations. But then they're going to go to smaller stations and replace it, and there's going to be 77. And I've already sent them like 4 different options from New Jersey, Phoenix, and Dallas. So that are used product that looks like brand new with sit stands and acoustical fabric, beautiful colors, and it's only 2 to 3 years old because when COVID hit.
Right. So a company contacts you then is if they want to get, I guess, one of two things. So they can contact you to help get rid of their furniture. Is that correct? That's one thing they would do?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you also then help them move into a new facility or?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
We can do that. We can also help oversee commercial moves and logistics.
Okay. So what out of all the things you do, what's your favorite thing for doing for a client when you get a job?
I love, walking a space for a decommission. It's like I'm a kid in a candy store, and it's like the more the better because I just love going through and doing inventory, and just because every corporation is different, so everybody has their own unique style with office furniture, paintings, and just the way some tech companies are super cool to walk in and just see how they have it set out for their employees. Some I've been in some that are just I wouldn't work there. They were just like rat traps, dirty, nasty. You got 50 people on the phone doing telemarketing. And I was like, oh, wow. When you walk in, you're like, how would anybody want to work there? So, I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff in the past, but that's probably one of my favorite things is to go in and help them keep their stuff out of the dump. And it's just exciting for me. It's like almost like a rush because you got a certain amount of time that they come and say, hey, Clay, I've got 20,000 square feet. I need it out by the end of the month. This is like the 15th. That's going to be a little, but we come across that too. It seems like, hey, Mr. Company, if you knew you were moving 6 months ago, why didn't you? Furniture is usually the last thing they think about, but that can also be a negative for them as well.
What's cool, you really seem to be at the right place at the right time in terms of your skill set. It's just like, you must have a really good eye for this. Like I have the worst eye for this, but you can go into a building and just kind of just see it and know what they need and know what has to go in. You have that ability to do that?
Yes, sir. And then what I also love to do is because some people like, oh, I think a small desk will fit. I was like,
Right.
well, what do you want in your private office? Do you want a desk? Do you need a return? Do you need storage? You want to have guest chairs? And so I kind of like to open up and give them options. And they're like, oh, I didn't even know that would fit. Oh, yeah, we do need that. So it's kind of like, you ask the right questions because you want to just make sure they get what they need to be successful in their business.
How do you pick up those skills?
Man, I'm a talker. I've always been a talker. I've always been sales oriented, and 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 if I like what I'm doing, I tend to grasp it and hold it in. And so, just over me doing this for 15 years, it's just I've learned, and I've been knocked down. I've made some mistakes, but I think in our industry, especially with decommissions, you can't control every variable. So sometimes the elevator might stop working.
Right.
So that means you got staff there. Okay, well, that's going to increase the labor costs because you can't have the staff there for 5 hours and not do nothing. I mean, that's because it's costing money. So you got to kind of have to share that cost with the customer, which sometimes they don't like. But hey, I'm sorry, I can't help it. Your elevator went down. I can't help it that the cleaning crews won't let us use the elevator because most of the time the cleaning crews are in the evening, and sometimes they don't want to share the elevator with you. They want to clean their floors and get done.
What's cool about your business, it's kind of thing that, most people don't even think about, like you said, when you were in college undergraduate, you never heard about the industry. I don't think I know too much about the industry. Did you also, like, you didn't study as an undergraduate? Did you learn also from YouTube clips, or is this something you pick up or you read magazines?
You can. I mean, I've never watched YouTube on office furniture.
Yeah.
I've just learned how to do it over time, and then, of course, with technology, it's gotten a lot easier to do things over the years. But I can, if I see something, Blaine, it's weird. I'm just drawn to it, and I kind of, if there's an issue or a problem, I try to come up with solutions to fix it.
I'm thinking that's something else you can do in your spare time, but I could see, you said you like to speak and you speak well. I could see you doing that also in terms of doing a YouTube clip, or I don't know if you've ever done one, but I think, I don't know, there probably are some floating around, but I think it would be, you could do a great job with it, showing people what you guys do and how you do it. So nice thing about dealing with your company, it's Triad Project Management. It's kind of like soup to nuts then, right? It's like call you and you take care of all the details. Is that what you do?
Yes, sir. I can basically, if you want me to, I can provide every trade, and I can oversee from your data cabling to running to dropping your drops to make sure they're, in the right location with your cubicle, or we call it green sweeping. Sometimes when you look in the ceiling of some of these buildings, right, Class A, B office spaces, when a tenant moves out and you have all that data, cat 5 or 6, going through the ceilings down to the furniture, most of the time you're not required to take it out like of the ceiling. So that means running it back all the way to the server room. So we just cut it at the wall or in the ceiling and we roll it up. Now, when somebody new comes in, sometimes property managers are like, oh, well, you need to clean out
Right.
the leftover stuff before you run your new stuff. So the new tenant kind of gets stuck with having to clean out all the, but that's another option that we offer is, cable abatement. We do e-waste as well, and provide e-waste certification. So, if you got laptops, hard drives, different computer systems, we can, what we call e-waste. So it wipes, clear any company information. It basically destroys the machine or the hard drive.
So in terms of folks have computers, so you can move them to another location, but you can also
Yes, sir.
need to have them donated to other places,
Yes, sir.
the computers.
It's harder. It's harder to donate like the towers, and the hard drives, especially with company information, unless they wipe it themselves. But so most of the time we get monitors, keyboards, and mouses per se. It's really hard to do the main computer, the hardware itself, to give it to somebody else.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, also, by the time you give it to somebody else and they're moving, chances are they're going to get a new computer anyway, after, what's turnover for computers? It's 3-4 years?
Couple of years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, isn't that in your lifetime, my lifetime, isn't that a change, that in terms of, you get stuff repaired, now you don't get stuff repaired, you just junk it, but if you're a company, it's not easy to, find somebody to take the stuff, that's where they call you, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we can do the management and overseeing I don't sell new machines, but for the data cabling, we can help you with that. But normally, new machines, new monitors, I don't even touch that. That's a whole different ballgame. But if they need to be donated, or they need to be wiped clean, we can do that.
Is most of your work liquidating stuff or moving it to a new location?
I think it's kind of a combination of all. So, some companies will drop off, like we're doing Raymond James in another week. And so we're dropping off e-crates so the staff can pack up what they want. We have kind of, we call them moving stickers, but they're labels. So you can put, like, we'll put Blaine stuff, office number 1, office number 5. And so that way when our movers take it over, they know to put that right in your office because you'll have a nameplate. Or some companies have us actually put up the nameplates on each office.
You have me laughing, Clay, because again, anytime we've moved a couple times the last couple of years, you try to do that for a moving company, but they never get it right. It couldn't be simple, bedroom 1, bedroom 2, whatnot.
Right.
But
that, Blaine, that's residential. That's residential. That's a completely different animal than commercial.
Good point. But even commercial, I guess that's why they hire you guys to take care of that stuff. So again, I don't have to worry about it. You would take care of
Yes,
it.
sir.
Or you,
Yes,
so
sir.
you have a network too of movers, a lot of different people. You have networks of a lot of different kinds of people you work with. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And then also we've gotten into warehouse decommissions and also industrial. So if there's racking, we can go in and we can, knock it down. We can move it. We can, usually there's like bolts that put it in the floor. We'll cut them off to make the floor even. We can even epoxy the floor to make it look brand new if that's what the customer wants.
What's the craziest kind of job you ever got?
We did a job for a company called Amadeus,
Right.
and it was in Miami. It was 4 floors. We did it we were there for like 3 months. And the gentleman that worked with Amadeus that oversaw us basically for the customer wasn't such a nice person all the time. And then when our liquidation, usually if it's multiple floors, we normally do 1 floor at a time. Well, this gentleman had it, okay, well, you do the southwest corner of this floor on this date. Then the next date, you're going to do the northeast corner on the opposite floor. And I even set up my own office like at one of their cubes. So, because I was actually trying to sell the furniture before time was up. So I would bring customers in and walk them through, to certain areas where no employees were. And when you're selling used office furniture, you throw up pictures and people really, it makes a difference if they can actually walk the building because you see it like a desk, you see it in an office, you see how it looks. So people can, it relates than having it in a warehouse. Oh, that desk looks cool. Okay, well, I don't know if it's the right size. I don't know. Well, the colors. Well, what are the color of your walls? What kind of carpet are you going in? So we try to design aesthetically as well, besides fitting, but also the right colors. And if it's used, great. If we can find it, great. But sometimes with use, you get what you get. If you
That's
like, if you need 50 offices, and I've got them. If they're mahogany, or I want espresso. Well, these are mahogany. They're brand new. If the price is right, guess what? It's either speed, price, or quantity.
Well, listening to you reminded me of, my mother had the same gift you had. She could take any space and see instantly, what it would look like. So when we moved recently, or a couple of years ago now, we wanted to look at a house with furniture in it. Some people like same thing you. So would you rather see a space with stuff in it or stuff not in it?
I like it with stuff not in it,
Yeah,
especially if somebody's going to purchase it.
right.
I mean, because to me, 40,000 square feet is 40,000 square feet. To me, it just depends on how big's the office, what do you need in it, workstations, what size do you need? Because I never want to try to oversell. If I know, hey, I only need a 5x5, I don't need storage because we're trying to cut down on paper. Well, then why sell them a 6x6? Some people try to push you into it just because it's on the market, in a bigger size station. And some of these stations I've seen are so large that, I mean, even employers don't like them because employees will use them as like kind of like their own. I mean, yes, it is their private space, but let's say a lot of junk
Right.
gets added into overheads, a lot of knickknacks. I mean, they just make it into their own personal space. But sometimes I've seen employees go off the deep end, and you walk in, it looks like you walked into a different world. It's not passing their cube because they've got everything in there. It's like, how do you work?
So let me ask you this, in terms of if somebody's listening, who is the ideal customer? Who should be calling you?
Um, Anybody really. I mean, anybody who's growing that wants to save money and be green for the environment. Also, property managers, commercial real estate brokers. I'm trying to get in with some in Asheville, and I'm actually going to meet a company, Carla and Company, tomorrow. So I know they're going to be doing some stuff in the future, but also if their clients ever need me, then I can, because I come in and give advice. You know, Blaine, I mean, I don't come in and just try to sell you. I ask you a lot of questions. What do you want to do with it? What's your hope to get out of it? So that way, hey, you know, you got this debt. Oh, I paid $1,500 for it 5 years ago. Well, sorry, it's not worth $1,500 today. You know, if we can get 200, you're gonna be lucky. Or unless you want to sell it yourself, and then you have to go through all the marketing, you have to answer all the calls, you have to walk all the people in to see. And most people are like, I don't want to do that. I don't have time. I can't run my business if I'm doing that. Well, that's why we need to have these conversations so we can set realistic goals for you.
The flip of it, do you ever see people, you gave a good example where $1,500 worth $200. Do you ever see stuff appreciate in value?
There's chairs like seating out there, Blaine. You know, they could be 15 years old,
Right.
but you know, Herman Miller chairs and
Okay.
steel case chairs, and I can still wholesale those guys for a couple $100, and then people clean them up, put a new piston in them, and then they'll retail them for $600-700. But if you or I were to go brown one brand new, we're looking at $1,200 to $1,800 out of our
Right.
pocket for a chair. I
So
mean, I'm sitting in the same chair you are. You're sitting in the Herman Miller Mira chair, and I can tell by the back and the
I,
arm pads.
I think it is, yeah. I don't
Yep.
know anything about
So
chairs, but I remember Herman Miller, and that's supposedly a good chair.
yeah, it's a great chair. I sit in one as well. It's called
Yeah,
the Mira, and you know, the honeycomb back, and it's like got a lot of adjustments, and it's a
yeah, right.
great chair.
Yeah.
But it's like certain like that chair right there. If you don't abuse it, it'll last you forever. And then if anything goes wrong with it, it might be the piston, the assembly that makes the chair go up and down. And if those go out, you can get another one on the market for like $40. It takes you like 30 minutes to change it out. You got a brand new chair again from 15 years.
The only thing I needed a repair on this, and I've had a bunch of years, where I sit on, it needed, there was a hole in it or something, it's
A C pan, yep. So the cushion in the C pan is kind of not
right, yeah.
going where it needs to go.
But it was easy to, replace it, and I didn't want to get a new chair, same kind of thing. Clay,
Right? I mean, you can buy another C pan for it, and
right.
it'll slide right in.
No, that's what I did. Right. I didn't have to get rid of the chair. I just did what you did. Clay, if folks want to find out more about Triad Project Management, what's the best bet?
You can either give myself a phone call at 561-927-5183. You can email me at clay at triad, TRIAD hyphen PM, like project manager.com, or you can look at our website, www.triad-pm.com.
Okay. And actually, I'll have you repeat that once again. If you would repeat the phone number, if you would please, and the website.
Phone number is 561-927-5183. The website is www.triad-pm.com.
Okay. Again, and you also gave your phone number, since one more time, the phone number.
561-927-5183.
And
Our website is www.triad-pm, like projectmanager.com.
And the best bet is if somebody's interested in some of the things we talked about, either getting rid of the furniture or moving their furniture to another location, you're the guy to contact. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyway, I'd like to thank you, Clay Rice, for being my guest on this edition of Blaine's World Show. I'd also like to thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti. Hopefully we'll someday bump into you in person as opposed to via Zoom. Thanks, man.
Beautiful. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Okay, just stay with me. I want to sign off, and then you and I can wrap up.